everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. The Amazing Spider-Man 314 from 1989 by David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane. Now, I have actually covered this issue in the past, in the beginning when I first started it. And I had started my coverage of Amazing Spider-Man with this issue because I really thought this is where Todd McFarlane really becomes the Todd McFarlane that we fall in love with. Then after I completed the coverage, I decided to go back. But things were different back then in the very beginning when I was covering things, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give you the comics with Jose treatment that I wasn't doing it here. So in the cover here, you can see and stay out as Spider-Man and Mary Jane are being evicted. And you can see their condo, the Bedford Towers, in there. This is during Christmas time, so ho ho ho, Santa's in here asking for charity. And this cover is just hilarious. I love it. It is so cool. So, Peter and Mary Jane evicted just in time for Christmas. So, here we go. And so we get the credits here. David Michelinie. I say something. I don't know whether it's Michelinie or Michelinie. The CH can be sounded both ways. You can either say ch or k. So go figure. And then Todd McFarlane is the artist here. And you can see here that Caesar's lawyer is giving them an eviction notice. And Peter's like, we're being evicted? And down and out in Forest Hills. Merry Christmas, Mr. Parker. So, awesome stuff here. So, Peter asks, but how? And Mary Jane's still looking in shock. And the lawyer says, as head of legal firm representing Jonathan Caesar, the owner of this building, I'm empowered to tell you that the purchase contracts you signed were non-binding. And though Mr. Caesar is temporarily incarcerated, his rights are clear. And of course, Peter says, guess Caesar figured he already owned you, Mary Jane, so why sell property or another piece of property? Besides, if his kidnap plan had worked, this would have made it easier for to get rid of me. And that has been covered in issues from issues 304 to 309. I do have a playlist. Feel free to check that out. And so Mary Jane reminds him, but he failed, and now he wants to get rid of us both. And Mary Jane says, but what about my money, Mr. Kinderman? I sank my entire savings into buying that condo. And look at him as he huffs here. And look at Aunt May. Real quick, just a quick commentary on Aunt May. I'm so glad they aged her a little bit. Or at least made her more, like, they made her look like she was 90 years old. And she's just, they just aged her up too much. So I do like the fact that Marvel Eve has kind of made her more with the times. So anyway, the lawyer says, oh, I'm certain you'll get your investment back, Mrs. Watson Parker. That is, when litigation is over in a couple of years. Tisk, he says. I love McFarlane's borders. Oh, man, I really miss Todd McFarlane drawing. And one of the things is that he really is just concentrated on the toys. He's all in on toys. I'd buy Spawn if he would at least get the cover. He just doesn't put up anything anymore, which is sad. I really wish he would. So anyway, Peter grabs him after he said that comment. Look at him. This is just so funny. Let me guess, you're not a full-time lawyer. You're just moonlighting from your regular job, hunting baby seals in Alaska. Mary Jane says, Peter. And of course, the lawyer walks away here. I love drawings that show legs and feet moving away, and you can then see the background. It is so creative, and I love it when artists do different perspectives. And I've always enjoyed like someone walking away, so you could get real close up to the legs and feet here, and then seeing them in the background. It's such a unique one that when I see it, I just have to call it out because it's pretty cool here. Anyway, so Mary Jane says, "Let it go, hun. We have other things to worry about, like finding a place for our furniture and ourselves." And then Aunt May says, "Land? Oh, land's sakes, children. There's plenty of room in my attic for furniture, and I've never rented Peter's old room to my boarders. Why not stay with me?" And Peter says, "Thanks, Aunt May. We'll take you up on the storage space, but as far as Mary Jane and me, we already have a place to stay." And Mary Jane thinks, "We have?" And she says, "That was quick. Where are you youngsters staying?" And Mary Jane says, "Better let Peter tell you, Aunt May. I think it's a surprise," as Peter walks away. So, all right. And so we're going to set up our conflict for this story here. And it says here, the J.C. Hurdling Department Store. And the dampening spirits of that store's manager here. So you can see here, nice, and people are, it's Christmas Eve, so it's busy here. And the manager says, "People who design calendars should be flogged." And his assistant says, "Yes, Mr. Thurston. Imagine scheduling Christmas Eve, our busiest day, on a Saturday. Banks are closed. I've had to hire an independent security firm to transfer receipts to a private vault in Manhattan, and that costs money." And the assistant says, "Yes, sir. At least I can count on you, Clark. What is this? The 19th Christmas you've worked?" And he says, "23rd, sir. But I don't mind, even without overtime pay. And in fact, I'm going to find this holiday especially rewarding." And we see the gun here. So, pretty cool. All right, and so it says here, hours pass, arrangements are made. And so here they are getting everything going here. And they're putting Aunt May in a cab, and she says, "You sure you'll be home in time for dinner?" And Mary Jane says, "Don't worry." And Aunt May says, "My boarders are all off visiting relatives. Your cousin Christy and I are depending on you and Peter for company." And Peter says, "We'll be there. Just don't start trimming the tree without us." And this guy comes through. "Sign here, Bob." And look at this. "Tell someone who cares." And so Peter signs, and he says, and he thinks here, "No tip, some Christmas spirit." So I'm glad things haven't changed. All right. And Mary Jane says, "I'll check with that lawyer my modeling agency suggested to see if there's something we can do." And Peter says, "Okay, I'll drop at the Daily Bugle and try to line up some photo assignments." And so it says here they're walking silently here for a while. And then finally Mary Jane says, "All right, I give up. Where are we staying?" I love this. I love how McFarlane, if you take a look here, you see the city, and then it's all one big splash page with just these panels in there. And that was something that McFarlane, I'm not saying he invented it, I'm just saying that he used it more than most people. So, and Peter confesses, "I don't know." And she goes, "What?" And he says, "This will be hard to explain, MJ, but I'll try, I guess." As they're walking here, in a nice vertical panel. There's another vertical panel here, and McFarlane and Frank Miller are the two best at vertical panels. And Peter says, "I overreacted. I made up that story to avoid going back to a situation I've grown out of. I love Aunt May, but the idea of living at home, of having to explain my comings and goings again, well, that's a step backwards. I just don't have. I flew the nest years ago, and moving back would compromise my independence. The self-image I have as an adult, I guess I resented that, he says. Nice of them walking here. Oh, you want to prove you're a grown up, so we're out on the street on Christmas Eve, says Mary Jane. I suppose things could be, and then she says worse as she hears this scream here. And I love his vertical panels here. McFarlane just draws, he just makes lines. And it's he's a different cat. I just the detail and the amount of lines that he puts in a page, it's amazing. You can definitely see how Arthur Adams inspired the Image guys. And she says, "A mugging." And Peter says, "I know, but you're not. You can't, Peter. You've got to." And he sighs here and says, "I know." And so you can see he changes here, kind of like Superman here. And he does this in vertical panels. I mean, it's amazing, amazing. How he is able to draw using vertical panels and create a whole story. I think this dude should release a comic book all done in vertical panels. So, and then we get this beautiful image here of Spider-Man, the moon always full. Here, just this panel is so cool here. And so Spider-Man thinks here, just because I have the weight on the world on my shoulder doesn't mean Spider-Man can bury his head in the sand. And he continues here, although I admit there are times I wish that radioactive spider had bitten someone with bigger shoulders. Chuck Norris, Mike Tyson, Bridget Nielsen. So, and we see the mugger trying to get away, but Spider-Man catches him with his webbing. And of course, he lets us know that the webbing will dissolve in a little bit, and that the cops will arrest him. Actually, they wouldn't, because he's a vigilante. But that's all right. It's the Marvel Universe. So, and this lady is grateful here and gives him a little Christmas present with Felix the cat, which shows up in a lot of stuff. And McFarlane said he had a friend who liked Felix the cat, so he included it in here so that his friend would buy the comic book. So, and then another great panel here. And he says, speaking of bleak Christmases, I guess I better get back to mine. So, all right. And so this guy, you see this truck is going away. He's like, hey, you forgot the sign. And he thinks here, nuts. Probably be all the way to Heedlings before they realize they screwed up. I should report him. It's Christmas, so he's not. Strange, though, Mr. Thurston was so worried. I promised I'd send 3 of our most experienced guards, but those guys in the trucks acted like it was their first day on the job here. So, we definitely got something going on here, and it's cold. These poor guys are gonna catch something here, and again we have another splash page with the panels in there. So, all right, and so we are at the Daily Bugle, and Jonah says to check with this Kate Cushing, and she says she doesn't have anything. Jonah, nobody does the photo assignments. He says, do you have any advice? And he says, buy low, sell high. And I love it. He's got that little shaved mustache there that I call him Hitler mustaches. I know they have a name, but anyway, he walks out. Now, forget business already. There's a Christmas party going on. Food, drink, music, enjoy. After all, it's deductible. Gee, thanks, says Peter. and someone calls him out here, and I just that's so cool. I love how McFarlane just does these ticks here. Look at this, just and then here just randomly just puts lines wherever. And it was Mary Jane, and he says, "Any luck with the lawyers, MJ?" She says, "Not much. We might have to sue to get our money back, and that could take forever. On the other hand, a party's a party, right? I'm gonna mingle." And so he thinks about asking the Robertsons, but there's some issues going on in Spectacular Spider-Man. He doesn't want to affect it. And Joy Mercado is a single woman, and he says things are already complicated, and I don't need to complicate it with someone else. He's about to ask Jonah, and Jonah says, "What?" And Peter just says, "Never mind." And so Mary Jane goes to a cab, and he says he's got some last minute shopping to do. And he says here, "I called Liz and Harry from the Beagle, but they have so many relatives visiting, I just couldn't ask them to stay." And he says maybe Flash Thompson, and he's doing boxing lessons with everything. And Peter explains, and Flash says, "Listen, my place was trash a few weeks ago, and I've been staying here in a back room at the gym. But you and Mary Jane are welcome to that as long as you like. I can bunk at the Y." And I've stayed at the Y in Brooklyn before, and you know what? It's not that bad. So, and Peter's just very grateful. This is all Flash has, and he offered it without even being asked. Peter says, "Thanks, Flash. You're a friend." So, I should be relieved, but I still feel lousy, like something isn't right. Like it's what is going right today? Sorry. So another great perspective use there. Love that bird's eye view. And so this guy here, that was Don Swagger would be here. Don had the day off to spend with his family, sir. Holidays sure are rough on us bachelors, eh? And so they're loading up the money here. And he says here, "Something's wrong, Clark. I've known Swagger for a year. He's never been married. We'd better call the police." And his assistant says, "Oh, why spoil things, Mr. Thurston's, after all?" And points the gun at him. It's Christmas. And just love that. Just the cartooniness. McFarlane is so good. Golly, the big ears, the big nose, the small jaw. And so Peter is at Uncle Ben's cemetery here. He wants to know what he should do, kind of giving him the what's going on here, and then back to this, and the assistant says, "The answer is easy, Mr. Thurston. I wanted more than a gold watch for enduring 23 years of tyranny, and I decided your Christmas profits would do nicely. And what would you and what you ask for what you can do with your gold watch." And so this guy sees the gun here, the security guard. So he's about to pull his, so everybody decides, hey. And another McFarlane tick showing these little things, and I do it myself here. And so one of them grabs the Santa Claus here, and he says, "Toss the piece or Santa will never see the North Pole again." He's like, "Oi!" And so they take off here, and he hears the sirens, and he's like, "Oh no, not now." But he smiles. He's still him. He's still Spider-Man. And so you see the truck here, the nice thing with the light McFarlane does, and Spider-Man has shown up here. And so he distracts them, and they crash. The Santa was still in there, and some armored truck it is when the doors just open with that. So he catches this guy here, catches this other guy here, and then the last one, he catches him and knocks him out. And I love this. Next, kind of a more darker more brooding Spider-Man image. So, and it's this one. He goes, all my plans, my future, this isn't fair. And he goes, it's Christmas. And Spider-Man hits him. This is, again, lovely. Oh, no, not Spider-Man. Santa hits him. Ho, ho, dirtbag. And Spider-Man says, thanks, Santa, with his thumbs up. And he says, don't mention it. Us heroes gotta stick together. So he goes back to go see his uncle and sees Aunt May there, so he's getting dressed. And Peter asks, what are you doing here? And she goes, why, Peter, I suppose I'm here for the same reason you are, dear. To share a special time with your uncle, my husband. And so I come here every year. I never told you because Christmas is always your favorite holiday and I didn't want you to feel sad. And so Peter realizes that it's just more important to be with his aunt and put his pride aside. And so he eventually asks if they can stay with her. And of course, she's so happy that he agreed. And so back in Queens here, they're got the eggnog ready, and Peter and Mary Jane is on the phone talking and having Christmas. Look at that big tree, and Peter's glad that they did it, that she's so happy. And Mary Jane says, then I guess I'm the second happiest, and she's proud of him. So, and of course she says, now children, the mistletoe is on the other room. We know Aunt May, but the love is in here. Merry Christmas, everyone. So, I love the ending here. P.S. Enjoy peace on Earth while you can, Spider-Man, because next issue, Venom returns. So, oh, so good, so good, so good. So, Amazing Spider-Man 314 by David Michelinie, Todd McFarlane. Amazing stuff. McFarlane is really, I mean, this is where he hits that sweet spot that continues on. This is peak McFarlane. So, like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.